Hello and welcome back to Play of the Game, the Magic the Gathering Limited podcast where we actually play the games. I'm Ryan.
I'm Maura.
And I'm Jason.
And today we have a spot from the Spotlight. We actually did end up finding one, which is awesome.
Well, not the Spotlight. This is the Limited Championship qualifier.
It is from the weekend of the Spotlight.
Yes.
We will have a spot from the Spotlight as well. We're going to be recording that one separately. But Maura ended up playing in a win-in match at the Limited Championship qualifier to try to make the draft. And we have an incredible spot, I think, from one of the games you played in this win-in match. And yeah, do you want to tee it up for us?
Yeah, so for some context, I'm playing a blue and green deck, splashing a bit of white. My deck is like your normal mid-range limited deck, a couple bombs, including Squirrel Girl, and just trying to win long games with like tricky interactions and just your standard limited stuff. So the board state we have here, we're in game one. I'm playing against a blue and white splashing red deck. That seems to be your standard blue and white creatures, like with some good rares, etc. As the board state stands, earlier this game I had a Squirrel Girl, which eventually traded off, and so I have a bunch of squirrels in play, 7 squirrels. I have 1 soldier token from my shield drone, and I have a Hercules, which I an earlier turn powered up. And then I have 8 lands in play, plus an Adventurer's Tower, so that makes 9, plus 2 lands in my hand and a Trickster's Stratagem, and I have not made a land drop this turn. My opponent has a bunch of mana in play, no cards in hand, has 6 creatures in play, 1 Shield Drone equipped with a +1/+2 equipment, and 1 Leader, and then 4 other creatures, like a 1/1 token and a 1/3 Aim Shield Bot, and then like 2 other 2/2s.
And Leader is...
The card?
Yeah.
Leader is the 1/3 that whenever you connive, you instead draw a card, then connive. And at the beginning of combat, you connive targeting a creature you control.
Yeah.
And so in this spot, my opponent is at 9 life, and I am at 5 life. Because earlier in the game, I was being beaten down by some flyers, and managed to stabilize from that, but now I'm at like somewhat a precarious spot, but also have a lot of board presence to leverage to try to end the game. Here, as it stands, with not thinking about the stratagem, I have 10 creatures to my opponent's 6, so if I attacked with everything, I am hitting for 4. With the stratagem, if I attack for everything and remove the flyer, I'm hitting for 8. Note, though, stratagem connives, so it has the possibility of hitting a spell and adding and counteradding 1 more power to the board. And so, baseline, if I stratagem the flyer and hit a spell, I win the game. But if I stratagem the flyer and hit a land, I can't make the attack, and the leader starts to draw cards. And so
just to illustrate more clearly the combat math, if we cast stratagem, target the opponent's only flyer, that means that our flyer can get through safely in the air, which is 4 damage or 5 if the stratagem draws us a spell that we then get to discard. On the ground, we are going to have 9 creatures to our opponent's 5 creatures because they have 6, and we just removed 1 with the stratagem. And so we will be getting through, in that case, for 4 on the ground. Basically, they let through 4 1/1s. And so we are either getting through for 4 on the ground plus 4 in the air equals 8, or if we draw a spell, 4 on the ground plus 5 in the air equals 9, which is our opponent's life total.
yes.
Yeah. Obviously, if we don't draw a spell, we can always attack with our 4/4 flyer, and probably also attack with our 4/4 ground creatures. Though we'll get to that. And that would represent some amount of damage, and it might make it easier to kill them the next turn. But given that if we're removing their flyer and not their leader, they'll be able to. Like, if they can just put the flyer second from the top, they'll draw the card on top of it for a turn. Leader will draw them the flyer and another card. They'll connive away a card. And it's pretty likely that at this point, they'll be able to cast their flyer and another spell. And the flyer that they have is also a shield deployment drone, so it'll come with another 1/1, which is pretty good against our plan of trying to go wide. It would probably make it somewhat difficult for us to kill them immediately, though there maybe are some draws that could help with that in our deck. We can talk about that in a bit. Notably, since they have like 11 lands in play or something like that, they're pretty likely to double spell next turn if the leader stays in play.
Yes.
And I guess also notably, they have no cards in hand.
Yes.
So they're tapped out, no cards in hand. We have all of the kind of agency here. We are deciding what to do, and they can have no responses.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, we can also consider things like moving the dagger before our attack, but I think it's unlikely that like sending in a 3/3 will be more impactful than getting two more points of damage on our flyer. So
Yeah.
So just to be clear, because we didn't, I think, explicitly say like what are the two options to do with our stratagem, we can target their flyer, which gives us a chance at lethal damage guaranteed this turn if we draw a spell off of it, or we can target leader, which guarantees that they only have access to a single card next turn, the card on top of their deck, and then the leader would presumably be the second card from the top. But that would leave their flyer in play, which lets them chump this turn in the air, and so we would not necessarily be like cracking through for lethal, even if we drew a spell off of the stratagem.
yeah, like if we tuck the leader and draw a spell, we can't even make the attack with everything because they'll just go chump in the air, chump on the ground. Like if we discard the spell, they would just go chump in the air, chump on the ground, like block enough 1/1s to go to 1, and then crack back for lethal.
So in fact, we would probably just be attacking with the flyer and maybe our 4/4 on the ground as well.
Yeah.
Yes.
And
Also, notably, we do have this Avengers Tower in play. So that is another option. We could try to activate that before we cast the stratagem. We have exactly 9 mana, 10 with a land drop, so 1 extra. But we could basically activate the Avengers Tower, try to find a spell. Then if we don't hit a spell, it's another question. But if we do hit a spell, we win.
Yeah. And I think in this
A
spot,
hero specifically.
because, like Jason said, there doesn't seem to be much merit in moving the dagger. I think it's somewhat clear, and no matter how many heroes, as long as it's not 0 left in the deck, that it's correct to activate Tower first. To my memory, there are like a couple left in the deck, not that many, maybe on the order of 2 or 3.
We should talk about moving the dagger. Like, let's talk about that just to dismiss it, if we're going to dismiss it, right? So let's assume, right, because in most of these scenarios, you're kind of assuming what happens if the stratagem doesn't find a spell. So let's assume that it's not going to find a spell, and we're trying to plan, for that possibility. Does moving the dagger make any sense? Like, what are our attacks, just baseline without casting the stratagem?
So one nice thing is the 4/4 already. The 4/4 is already something that cannot be traded for just one creature unless they block with either the flyer or the leader. And this is like it takes a little math to figure this out. But if they block with the flyer or they block with leader, obviously like you're pretty happy to trade your 4/4 for either of those
To
pieces.
be clear, we're talking about Hercules, not the 4/4.
Oh yeah. The ground 4/4, yes. But other than the flyer and the leader, they have 2 2/2s, a 1/1, and a 1/3 in play. And there's no combination of blocks that they could make on the 4/4 that doesn't that kills the 4/4 and doesn't like kill 2 of their creatures. So if we attack with the 4/4, either they're taking 4, they're chumping, they're trading it off for 2 creatures. Or they're trading it off for one of the important creatures that we care about. And any of those options are pretty good for us, right?
Mostly because the board width number actually matters a ton here.
Yep.
We are literally 1 off of lethal right now in terms of board width, how many 1/1s they have to let through when we attack. And so if we're trading our large 4/4 body for even just a 1/1 and a 1/3, that is actually pretty good for us because it's 1 creature on our side of the board to 2 creatures on their side. It puts a lot of pressure on them to increase their board width multiple times next turn to not be dead. So, I think, we talk about equipping the dagger, right? For one thing, it moves it off of our flyer, which we are fine with maybe if we're casting the stratagem on their flyer. So potentially we could do that and then move the dagger. Is that what we're saying?
Yeah, but that would cost 2 damage to send a 3/3 in. The 3/3, like, they can just double block in a way that trades with it.
And also, notably, losing 2 damage matters a lot here, because we were trying to go wide enough with 1/1s to deal them lethal damage. And so by unequipping the flyer and connect for 2 less damage, we're essentially almost killing 2/1/1s. Not exactly, but like we're increasing the amount we have to go wide next turn if we're not killing this turn by 2.
To be fair, if we remove the flyer, it is somewhat awkward for them to block both the 3/3 and the 4/4.
It is, yeah.
It's like somewhat awkward, but they can just
They probably
go 1/1.
chump the 4/4
Chump the
with
4/4.
the 1/1, and then block the 3/3 with a 1/3 and a 2/2.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
And that's like they're going down 2 on board, we're going down 1 on board, and we're dealing them 2.
We're kind of going down like 3 on board because we're not hitting them for 2 more damage.
I was trying to say, like, just practically what actually happens on board is that, and then we are only hitting them for 2.
Yeah, so it seems worse.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I think we can probably pretty safely dismiss the dagger.
Yeah, which means we can activate Hero's Tower immediately.
Well, okay, so
we should talk about Avengers Tower.
Well, okay,
Yeah.
so there's another reason why you could not activate Avengers Tower, and that's specifically like if you are not planning on tucking the flyer and going for lethal, if you're planning on tucking leader, right? Then there are some spells that you would draw that you would rather keep in your hands than discard to. You would rather cast this turn than discard it to grow the flyer, right? So like you could imagine a world where you want to play your like if you had like one hero in a large deck, right, and it's very unlikely for the tower to hit. Maybe you want to play your trickster stratagem first, in case you draw a spell that then would be good. For example, like if you had another removal spell in your deck, then drawing that removal spell would also be lethal, even tucking the leader first, because you could tuck the leader first and then remove the flyer and then still have lethal. But so like there are reasons why you might want to not activate the tower so that the lines where you're tucking leader are better. Obviously, if you're always tucking the flyer, then you should activate the tower first, because if you draw a spell, then then it's lethal anyways. So like nothing matters if you draw the spell.
Yeah,
I do think we should, I guess, like now that we're sort of talking about the 2 major branch points, right? Like, do you tuck the leader or do you tuck the flyer? Let's fully flesh out what happens when you do either. So we kind of already talked about if you stratagem the flyer, you draw a spell, you win, because you have +1, you're at 1 less than lethal right now, that +1 damage kills them. Let's say you don't hit a spell. Then we're probably attacking in the air for 4, and on the ground with our 4/4, it trades off with 2 creatures on their side. They go to 5, right?
Yep.
Their board is now how wide? They have 6. We've tucked 1, so that's 5. Then we traded with 2. They go to 3 creatures.
Yeah.
And our board, we still have the flyer. We still have all of our 1/1s. We lost our 4/4, so we're now 9 wide. So they're at 5, and we are +6 in terms of width on board. However, they go to their turn. Their flyer is tucked. It's in the bottom. It's on the top of their library after they draw their card. Kind of important to mention, I guess, they have many lands in play. They've been flooding a little bit this game, so pretty likely that their deck is pretty spell dense at this point. And so we can guess that it's somewhat likely that their top card is a spell. Then they go to combat. They target a creature to connive with leader. They draw 2, discard 1. Now they have 2 cards left in hand. One of them is the flyer, presumably, because it adds 2 to their width, their board width. And then 1 other spell. Could be anything.
Like
probably a spell, unless they happen to have 2 more lands in the 2 extra cards they saw from leader.
Which is pretty unlikely.
Pretty unlikely. So let's assume, I think it's reasonable that like most spells would add 1 to their board width, or their buffer their life total in some way, or do something important to add 1 width to their board. That means they're going +3 on board. So we are +6. We go instead to down +3. Is that right?
Yes.
Yeah. This is a little tricky to like think through all the way, which is why I wanted to explicitly do it. So we're now +3. They are at 5. They have a flyer that they can chump with. And we kind of go back to our turn. We could draw maybe a spell or something. We've already connived, so if we can, and we're assuming we connived away another land, so our deck is like getting more spell dense, less land dense, and we are +3 on board. We still have the flyer to attack with that they probably need to chump. The issue is that they have the leader online, and so in theory they can continue doing this thing where they draw 2 relevant spells per turn, and maybe they can climb out of it.
Yeah,
with
it would be 5 to 5. So like if we attack with the flyer, they don't even have to chump, and like it's possible that they could like draw something that then kills us from 5 with their 3 power flyer.
Yeah. The other notable thing is us being at 5, and that's going to be more relevant when we talk about the other line we could take. So let's assume that instead of going after the flyer and going for that, if we draw a spell, it's lethal this turn, instead of that, we go after the leader. That makes it impossible, is that right, for us to actually have lethal this turn because they can jump with their flyer unless we draw some other spell.
If we go after their leader and then we draw exactly a removal spell, then we discard a land, cast the removal spell on their flyer, and we have lethal.
Assuming we didn't activate Avenger's Tower first.
There's also some if we didn't activate Avenger's Tower first.
But kind of baseline, going after their leader means we very likely don't have lethal this turn.
Yeah, like it would be removal spell or maybe some kind of combat trick, like I Am Iron Man would do it.
Yeah, there was an I Am Iron Man in my deck before activating the tower.
We'll talk about this after. Yeah. So, okay, the situation where we go after leader, what happens? We go after leader, goes second from the top of their deck. Then we probably make the attack with our 4/4 flyer and our 4/4 on the ground. They can potentially take both of those, unless we obviously connived onto the flyer and then they have to chump it, whatever. Actually, is that relevant? No, they can chump the ground creature, so it's not. Okay. So we attack. They probably either trade with or chump the ground creature. They probably take the flyer in the air. It's either 4 or 5. Then it goes to their turn. They draw their mystery card on top of their deck. The leader is now the top card. We're at 5. We have no flying blockers. They have a 3/4 flyer. They can attack us for 3, put us down to 2. If their top card does something that is worth 2 damage, that could be a lightning strike, they're splashing red. It could be equipment that gives +2 power. It could be I Am Iron Man to give +2 power and draw the leader even. It could be a Take Up the Shield, which doesn't kill us, but buffers their life total enough so that they wouldn't be dead. There's a range of cards that could kill us from this spot. But we're guaranteeing that the only card we are susceptible to is exactly the mystery top card of their deck. So that's the situation where we go after leader. We're saying, if the top card of your deck doesn't kill us, what will happen is we'll go back to our turn. Now you will have to chump this flyer in the air probably because we'll be attacking with everything, and the board will be reduced. And we'll very likely be able to close it out.
Specifically, what happens is we attack with our 4 power flyer. Presumably they don't chump. And then they go to 5.
And do we also attack with the 4/4 on the ground?
And our 4/4 on the ground. So they don't jump, they go to 5. They do the trade-off with the 4/4 on the ground, probably. So then they'll be down to 3 creatures again because we remove 1 that we trade off with 2. So they're at 5, and they have 3 creatures, and we have 9 creatures. Then their 1 spell. It would have to make 2 bodies for them to not die because we are 6 wider than them and they're at 5. It would have to be something that either kills us, makes 2 bodies, or gains some life in some way, right? Like
Take Up the Shield.
Yeah, like Take Up the Shield, like Hero in Training, right? So any copies of Hero in Training, Take Up the Shield, I Am Iron Man, like Lightning Strike,
Would
Repulsor
Helicarrier
Blast.
Strike work?
Helicarrier
Fire?
No, because it's just like at that point they still have the flyer in play. They can chump our flyer anyways. It's about literal creature count.
Yeah.
Right. Anything
like
gains
strike is just +1 in terms of the combat.
Anything that gains 2 life, makes 2 bodies, or makes a body, removes 1 of our bodies, removes 2 of our bodies. Anything like that, right?
Yeah.
So anything that kills us or makes 2 bodies or gains life in some way would make it a lot more difficult to win the game. Not impossible,
Because
like
we could still attack with our flyer, force them to chump. Let's say we can't attack with our ground creatures, right? They still have chumped in the air. Let's say they, I don't know, do something that made 2 bodies.
Well, so okay, let's say they drew something that like made 2 ground bodies, right? Let's say they drew Okoye, the like 4 mana 3/2 that makes 2/1/1, so that we're not like able to kill them on the ground. But we're still like a little wider than them. Then we can attack with our 4/4. Like let's say we like. In the world where we didn't draw a spell, right? So we attack with our 4/4 and put them down. They could choose to not chump and be put down to 1, and then the next turn they could theoretically like play leader and connive onto their flyer, which gives them a little better chance of killing us. So like there's definitely some times where like we still lose after they like draw something that isn't quite like killing us or being take up the shield, but
it's reasonably unlikely, but definitely possible.
Yeah, but most of the things that we're worried about are things that kill us or take up the shield.
Yeah.
And to be clear, the reason why take up the shield is so bad is that they can just pass to us, and then it looks like we should make the lethal attack. We make the lethal attack, and they go take up the shield on their flyer, eat our flyer, gain a bunch of life, not die, and crack back for lethal.
Yep.
Right. And obviously, we could draw something that like a removal instant speed removal spell to not die to take up the shield there, but like I don't think we have very many of those.
Yeah.
So fundamentally, the kind of spot that we are talking about is maybe you activate Avengers Tower first, maybe not, but do you cast Tricks or Stratagem on the flyer or on the leader? We just discussed what happens in either of those scenarios. In both of them, we are pretty comfortably over 50% to win, I would say,
Yes.
but definitely not 100%. And so the question comes down to which percentage is higher. So one of those is somewhat easy to calculate, right? If you cast the Tricks or Stratagem on the flyer, the number of games that you deterministically win is exactly equal to your chance to draw a spell.
Yep.
Yeah, and you would activate the Avengers Tower first in that case.
Probably, yeah.
Yeah.
So let's talk about what do we know is left in the deck? What's our chances to draw a spell?
Yeah, so I think, Ryan, you had a pretty good count of it, if I recall. Where
I was watching this game. I had come over kind of in the middle of it after finishing a team draft.
We have the
and
cards here.
Watching Mora's winning in. We literally have the spot kind of laid out in paper in front of us.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not perfect because
Yeah.
I don't remember everything. 'cause
We
it's a long
reconstructed it
match.
pretty well from our memory. So, for
Yeah.
example, you can see on this board there's something that's a 2/2. We don't remember what the 2/2
Yeah.
was. It was just a 2/2 creature on the ground.
Yeah,
So-
but yeah, the essential of it was that we were pretty certain that out of the 11, I think
There's
10
14 cards in the library.
There were 14 cards in the library.
I think.
The hero, when I activated Hero's Tower, I put 2 spells and a land on the bottom.
So you had activated it the previous turn.
Yeah.
And what you had put on the bottom, from what I remember, was a Mr. Hyde, a Serpent Specialist, and a land, a forest. These 3 cards. Neither of them are heroes, so we couldn't take
Yeah.
them.
Those
so
are on the bottom. Deck. There's also a card that we put on the bottom from Mulligan.
We also know that we mulligan to 6 this game, and we put a spell on the bottom. Mora doesn't remember which spell, but
Yeah.
some spell.
I'm actually not positive if I...
Okay, we're working off the assumption that
yes.
we mulligan this spell.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This is part of the reason why it's sometimes good to track things like this.
Yes,
by the way,
I agree.
It takes some effort to track things, but with some practice, I think you can do it with minimal enough effort that it can be worth it. Depends.
Potentially, yeah. It depends on how much extra capacity you have during paper matches of Magic, which are difficult things to track already.
Yeah.
Yes.
But, so, we are assuming that we basically have in the bottom 4 cards of our library a land and 3 spells.
Yeah.
In play and in our graveyard,
And in
we
our
ha-
hand.
and in our hand, we have, I believe it's
13 lands?
13 lands.
Yeah.
We have 9 in play, 2 in our hand, and I believe there were 2 in the graveyard.
No, there's 1 in the graveyard, so it's 12
Oh,
lands.
right.
Yeah.
12 lands plus the 1 on the bottom is 13.
Yeah.
Meaning
So we
there
have
are
4
4 lands left in the deck.
And we
in
have
the unknown portion of the deck.
Yeah, and the deck is 14 large, so there are 10 unknown cards, like not including the 4 on the bottom.
We know the 4 on the bottom, so the unknown portion of the deck is 10 cards big, and 4 of them are lands.
Yeah.
Yes.
Which means we have a 60% chance currently, before activating Avengers Tower, to I think the deck was bigger than this though, right? Because you ended up activating Avengers Tower, and then I believe my count was 7 out of 11.
No, that was because that was before we talked about the
Okay.
earlier turn of
Yeah,
Avengers
yeah,
Tower
Got it.
activation.
Okay. So there's 10 cards in the deck. 6 of them are spells, 4 of them are lands. So we are 60% to win the game immediately if we cast the Trickster Stratagem on the flyer.
Yeah, but we should activate Avengers Tower first, and that makes our chance higher. By how much it makes it higher, it's a little complicated.
Yes.
Like if we have, I believe our count is that there are 2 heroes. These 2 heroes left in those 10 cards: the Wakandan Royal Guard and the Hellcat. And if we draw either of those in our top 3 cards, we win. And if we don't, then we still have the chance at like Trickster Stratageming into something else. So it's kind of it's a little complicated.
Yeah, well, we can probably calculate the % chance we hit on Avengers Tower, right?
Yeah, it's like.
I can hypergeobot it.
Well,
if
yeah,
you
I
want.
mean, like in a tournament, you wouldn't have access to a
This is true,
hypergeometric
yeah.
calculator. It's like 2 in 10 that you're having 3 looks at.
Yeah.
You're,
So
you're,
it's a 1 in 5 3 times.
well,
So
it's a
2
one
in
in
10, 2 in 9, 2 in 8.
So, like, one way to think about it, 2 in 10, 2 in 9, 2 in 8 is a way that you can think about it. And that is like 8 in, so it's like 1 in, wait, no, it's not 1 in 90. Sorry, it's an 8 in 10, it's 8 over 10 times 7 over 9 times 6 over 8.
Yeah.
Because that, 1 minus that, because that's the chance that you don't hit each of those 3 successive
Yeah.
times.
This is like an interview question.
Yeah. So 876 over 1098 is 42 over 90, I believe, which is 14 over
10
30,
times
which
9
is
times
7 over 15. So, like, you're a little under half.
A little
to hit.
under half to hit on your Avengers Tower activation.
Wait,
Yeah,
10
we
times 9
think.
times 8 is more than 90.
Well, yeah, I cancel out the 8s.
Okay, oh, yeah.
So it's like a little under half to hit on your Avengers activation, and then if you don't hit on your Avengers activation, you know that these that the heroes are left in your deck, and you know that you've it's like the heroes plus like 5 the 2 heroes plus 5 random cards. What are the chance that one of those is a that
I think
is a non-land?
regardless, we can evaluate the goodness of activating Avengers Tower as adding 40% to 45%
it's a little weird.
to the win rate of the scenario if we had cast Stratagem right now.
It's not adding 40%.
But what I'm saying is it's adding 40% of the remaining portion of the pie, right?
Okay, sure, yeah.
Currently, we are 40% to whiff on our Trickster Stratagem. We are now taking 40% of that situation where we whiffed and converting it into a win. So 40% of 40% is
16%, or yes, 16%.
16%. So roughly, we're adding 16% to our 60 that we just talked about.
Yeah, we're roughly
Very
like
roughly.
3/4, somewhere around 3/4 to win.
If we take the line, activate
This is
Avengers
maybe too
Tower,
much math.
activate Avengers Tower, then cast Stratagem on the flyer.
So-
However, we can activate Avengers Tower and then decide to cast Stratagem on the leader.
That's
right?
true. Yes.
So, in fact, we can make this decision. I think, like, basically, what I'm coming down to on this is activating Avengers Tower adds enough to our guaranteed win rate because we always have the option to cast the Stratagem on the flyer, and we're about, 40 to 45% to hit if we activate Tower. So, activating that first before we make the decision on what to cast the Stratagem on, I think makes a lot of sense because it has a 40% chance of giving us a clear answer where we can win right now.
Yeah.
That seems like a good plan. So we're going to activate the Avengers Tower now. We did it. What happened?
Yay.
I hit off of it Go Nuts, I Am Iron Man, and Land.
These 3 cards.
Rip.
And they go onto the bottom of my deck.
Some relevant spells that are not heroes.
Yep,
We whiffed.
notably 2 lethal spells that are possible hits off my connive. I guess in this case, the one that is a possible lethal hit after tapping through the Avengers Tower, and another relevant spell and a land.
Yeah.
And
So,
more or less maintains the ratio of the deck. Now we're at
We're at 4 and 7.
Yeah.
are of the unknown,
Yeah.
our spells. So now
Our lands? You mean?
no, our spells.
Oh, our
We have
spells.
3
Yeah.
lands, 4 spells.
Yeah.
So
So-
now what happens if we cast the Trickster Stratagem on the flyer? We're 4 and 7 to immediately win. It's still the same situation of casting on the leader, basically. Another thing is that I want to bring up is that one of the spells in our deck is Wakandan Royal Guard, which is a hero that we can hit off of Avenger's Tower. So let's say we take the line where we tuck the shield drone and we don't hit a spell, we hit a land, so that now we have 4 and 6 cards are spells. And then, the next turn they can replay their flyer. They have maybe a good turn with leader. The question is how favored are we after that? We've hit them for 4. My take is that if we remember that Wakandan Royal Guard is in our deck, and we haven't seen it, and we've gone through most of our deck, so now there's only 6 cards of which the Wakandan Royal Guard is one of.
And we have the opportunity to next turn look at another 3.
Yeah,
to try and find it.
we have even enough mana to activate Avenger's Tower and play the Wakandan Royal Guard. I think the Royal Guard actually does a lot against many of the cards they could draw with leader and put into play, specifically because it buffs our 4-power flyer into a 5-power flyer, so that we can threaten lethal with it and force the chump, even if they without needing to attack on the ground at all. So I honestly, so that makes the line of tucking the flyer more appealing at this point, because it means that we can maybe win this long leader game, because we have this card that we can literally have 4 looks for out of 6 total cards left in our deck that we haven't seen, in order to find it, put it into play, and have a very good turn.
Yeah.
Right. Obviously, it wouldn't do much if their other card was a removal spell for our flyer. It wouldn't do much if their other card was a take up the shield. But it does help.
Or if their other card was I am Iron Man, or any of the category of cards that would kill us, right?
Yeah.
That would kill us in the other game.
Yeah. But they would also kill us in this game, right? Because they make a flyer into a lethal threat, and they already have a flyer.
Well, no.
No, we tucked the flyer.
If you tuck the flyer,
a
a card like Lightning Strike would not.
would not kill you. I am Iron Man would
Because they would be
have
able
the
to eat.
equipment.
Yeah.
But yeah, it reduces that pretty narrowly. So okay, so that's the situation where we tuck the flyer and we remember that Wakandan Royal Guard is in our deck. Let's also talk about what happens now that we've whiffed and we are only 4 out of 7 to guaranteed win this turn, which is lower than 60. Is that right?
4 out of
Something like
7
that?
is
Doesn't really matter.
4 times 4. It's a roughly 56,
Yeah.
maybe 57
Right.
or 8.
So we're a little bit over 50% to win if we cast the stratagem on the flyer, but a little bit over 50% is not, 80% or whatever.
Yeah.
What happens if we tuck the leader? So now we need to kind of evaluate, right? As we discussed before, if we tuck the leader, we are basically putting ourselves vulnerable to exactly the top card of their deck.
Mm-hmm.
So we should talk about what we should believe the distribution of cards on top of their deck could be.
Yeah.
This is less deterministic math than what percentage are we to win if we tuck the flyer.
Yeah.
But I think it is still tractable math if you're
Yeah,
good at
kind of.
understanding limited and how people build decks. and
The
stuff.
problem is that it's not tractable for our current situation right now, where we don't actually know what spells have been cast, because we've tried our best to recreate the situation. We've tried our best to figure out what was in Mora's deck, and we've gotten a pretty good sense of that. But we definitely do not remember what was in
all of the spells that our
opponent.
opponent has cast this entire game.
Yeah,
But we should also give a shout out to the opponent, right?
Yeah.
Kevin, who's been a New York local for a while and recently moved to Boston, I think, and wonderful opponent. It was really,
awesome,
really awesome match and very nice afterwards.
Yeah, it was a wonderful match. Kevin's great. Shout out Kevin.
Anyways, we can still talk about how you would start to think about this, even if we can't arrive at the exact answer. And the thing that I firmly believe is so this is, for context, this is sealed, right? You can expect that you have a sense for how many premium commons, in some sense, you expect each sealed pool to open like you can expect that each white deck will have like an average of one Take Up the Shield in it. Because Take Up the Shield is pretty good common. Most white deck is built from a sealed pool would probably play Take Up the Shield, especially like this deck seems like one that would play Take Up the Shield.
An average of like one I Am Iron Man.
Similarly, right? Like so cards like that where you like expect that if someone opened that card, they would play it in this deck. If you haven't seen any copies of that card, like you should assume that your opponent like has a good chance of having that card somewhere left in their library. It's just like.
I don't know the actual math on like how likely you are to open any given common in a sealed pool.
I don't know either.
I would very like my gut says roughly like 0.7 of each of the copies of all the cards we care about or something.
Yeah, I would guess like 1 in 6. Like one copy is like a round expectation.
Yeah, something like that.
I think it's less than 1.
A little bit
I think
less than
0.7 is probably.
0.7-ish.
I don't know.
Yeah.
You could definitely do more in-depth math than that, but I'm shortcutting it to like you expect roughly them to have a copy.
And then there are about, if we counted them right, like the ones we can think of at least right now, which is all you could be able to think of in the moment. I Am Iron Man, Lightning Strike, Take Up the Shield,
Repulsor Blast,
Energy Daggers.
Well, that one's tricky because not every deck plays that.
Yeah,
that's true.
Right,
but it's something I could think about given that
it's one of the things you can think of.
It's pretty easy to think of.
One card that you would not expect your opponent to play, Hawkeye's Bow, would kill you here.
Yeah. Although that's very unlikely on a splash. For
Notably also, though, out of one of those common pieces, I Am Iron Man is unbeatable with any line that we take here.
Except for killing them immediately.
Yes. that line is certainly not beatable by them.
Yeah.
So, like, Maura, can you kind of speak to, we don't remember exactly the cards that were in the graveyard, but the texture of the game that had happened. Had they cast any of these spells? Do you remember what was happening in the game? Where, like, it sounds like they were flooding.
Yeah, so it was very much like, it felt like they were making the minimal plays in order to stay stabilized, like, interact with my creatures, they beat down with flyers mostly, but besides that, I think they were somewhat creature anemic, and just like generally like somewhat anemic. I think there was like multiple turns in the game where he had like 2 cards in hand, and I was like pretty certain they were lands.
Okay, but what kind of spells were cast?
Yeah, no,
Was it just a bunch of creatures and removal spells
that's
so far?
Mostly what I remember. There might have been a Take Up the Shield. I'm not positive about that. I have...
Also, another notable property of the situation was Maura was trying to do this. This was game 1, and there were, 25 minutes left on the clock?
Yes.
So, obviously, as with all play of the game episodes, we are taking, we're currently 37 minutes in. We're taking a long time to talk about this one situation.
The round clock has already ended, and we're plus 15 into the round.
I will say, I'm going to be right back. I have my life total pad.
Oh, great.
That recorded.
Yeah, let's get that.
Okay. Obviously, we should address the elephant in the room. You're not going to have this much time to go this in depth, or you're not going to be able to be like, how do you calculate 8 over 10 times 9 over 7 over 9?
You even have time to think about what cards are left in my deck that I haven't seen yet, and remember Wakandon Royal Guard. Maybe you don't.
Yeah. So Kevin's life total went 20 to 21 off of Gainland, 18, 13, 15 off Hero in Training, 17.
So Hero in Training had already been cast.
Yeah, 15, 17, 13, 9, 5.
Okay, so probably there was not a Take Up the Shield cast this game.
That makes sense.
I think probably not.
Yeah, but there was a Hero in Training, and Hero in Training would be another punish for this line of removing leader.
Yes.
So you could imagine maybe there's a second Hero of Training in the pool, but you've seen one already. It makes it less likely that there's a second one.
And all of this math we're doing is trying to come up with what percentage is it that the top card of Kevin's deck is something that is relevant or kills us.
Yes.
How many cards are left in his deck? 15-ish, we think? 10, 15, something like that. He had been drawing with Leader, and it was a very long game, many lands in play. I believe there's lands in play.
There's currently 17 cards in play. 17 in our situation there's 11 lands and 6 cards and a token on Kevin's side of the battlefield. Yeah. And surely there's
10 cards in the graveyard.
Yeah, I don't think that land count's perfectly accurate, but I think all of this has to be eyeballed. Yeah. I'm seeing my notes. I also wrote down Shield. And I'm wondering what that's from.
Well,
that could be game 2.
There's a Shield. There's a Shield deployment drone.
That was deployment drone.
Okay,
it was a revealed deployment drone off of
So 11, let's say it's 11
11
lands in play. That's probably around the number. That means 6 lands left in the deck, maybe 5 if Kevin's on 16 lands,
Yeah,
which is possible.
I mean, like-
something around 5-ish, 6-ish lands in the deck out of, let's say it's 15 cards. And then we think there's probably all of the math we're doing around like what are the possible cards that Kevin could have is trying to get us to an estimate of how many cards that are like that count that are hits basically are left in the deck, do we think? I would say a reasonable guess is something like 2. Do we think it's somewhere between like 1 and 4, leaning toward 1? So I'm going to say 2.
Yeah, it really depends also on, like, there's a really tricky question of, like, you've seen 2 red gain lands. Do you think that, like, if Kevin opened up a Lightning Strike or a Repulsor Blast, would those be splashed?
Oh, one important thing we haven't noted is I believe on the board also there is a Tony Stark that flips into the foreign a blue-red Iron Man tapped with a frozen ice.
Okay, so it's mostly an irrelevant game piece, but like
it informs both
why
there's a red splash and also some amount of the contents of the deck, and that you can expect Kevin would lean a bit more towards artifact density.
Yeah,
potentially.
Yeah, but like if you're splashing Tony Stark, you could splash it as the only card. You could splash it with removal spells, but like either way,
we haven't seen Basic Mountain, and so we haven't seen that Kevin is committed enough to having red mana that he's willing to play an off-color land, which does mean that it is possible that these are just free-rolled dual lands to be able to flip the Tony Stark.
Also, notably, I'm realizing looking at the life total changes, there's only one life total change where Kevin goes up 1 point of life, which makes me believe there's actually only one dual land in play. It's supposed to be a blue-red dual land, but red-white is the same
whatever.
thing.
Fair enough. Okay. Yeah. So all of this boils down to, what do we think the chances are that the top of the deck is something that kills us or helps Kevin stabilize to then next turn draw the leader and kind of continue maybe pulling that back ahead?
Yeah, I think 2 and X, like 2 and 15 is...
2 and 15, I think, is like a pretty reasonable
Or 2 and
guess.
14, because I think we thought there were 15 cards in the library. One of them we know is leader, second from top, so there's 14.
I will note that we should maybe bump that up by a small hair, because there's also like the category of bomb that's fairly likely to, like, for example, like a 5/4 flying lifelink, a superhero civil war.
So let's call it 2.5 out of 15, out of 14.
Well, I would say 2.2, but you know,
sure. Something like that. Okay, so what is that in terms of our winning percentage? Right, our winning percentage is the inverse of that. So we can do the math. What's
like 6 and 7.
6 and 7.
That's
and that is percentage-wise roughly what?
That's roughly 85.
85%, something around there. Again, this is all very ballpark, but this is in the scenario where we've whiffed on Avengers Tower, we tuck the leader, and we're crossing our fingers that the top of the deck is not a relevant card that kills us or stabilizes.
Yes.
We best guess think that number is something around 80 to 85%. So, what play should we make?
Yeah, so...
Well, one of the numbers is larger, but also we haven't taken into account the, like, Wakandan Royal Guard thing, but also that's kind of nebulous.
So, yeah, the two numbers we calculated, to be clear, are percentages to basically, like, affirmatively win the game. If we don't affirmatively win the game continues. We don't necessarily lose the game.
Yes.
In that, like, 15% that we said, the inverse of the 85, a larger portion of that is us directly losing the game immediately.
Yeah.
Right? That's if it's a lightning strike, Iron Man, a take up the shield, basic daggers, whatever.
Basically, if we remove the leader and the top card is good, and there's a 15, like we think there's a 15% chance the top card is good enough that we immediately lose the game. Like either it kills us or it like puts them so far ahead that we cannot ever win the game. If we remove the flyer, we think there's like we think there's roughly like a 4 and 7. What was it, like a 57?
55% chance.
No, 57, I think, whatever. Percent chance that we immediately win the game, and then there's like some chance that the game continues and we win, but it's like
they have a leader.
Very nebulous. Yeah.
If they get to,
I think calling it as 50-50 is like pretty reasonable.
I think it's lower than 50% for us, but because they have a leader in play, but like it's nebulous.
Yeah. No, them having like the first leader activation. I think they're still behind, but puts them up, gives them a chance. The second leader activation, they're suddenly looking at another 3 cards. I think that puts them in a spot where they could, if their deck is good enough, easily engineer a spot to be ahead.
So let's call it 57% plus 40% of 1 minus 57%. Sorry, I'm continuing to look at Jason to do the napkin math on that.
That puts it at around 6 and 7 again. Like it's kind of similar.
And I
Very
think
similar,
this is a good case of like your intuition in the moment. I think both my intuition watching the match and Mora's intuition in actually playing the match in this high stakes scenario, you can very finely tune your intuition as a Magic player to super quickly get a really rough estimate of percentages like this. Yes. And I think in this case, both of our intuitions were correct in that the actual like winning percentage of both lines is very close. I would say they're both somewhere around 80% to win, with like, if I had to give 90% confidence intervals between 65 and 90% or something. Yeah. Right? It just comes down to your very true vibes on which number is slightly higher. And in these kinds of situations,
it's going to be impossible to calculate.
It's impossible to calculate, but this is in large part the skill that the game Magic the Gathering tests, is being able to, in 30 seconds, vibe out which of these percentages seems higher. Now, to be clear, right, you make thousands of these decisions in every match. The ones where it's genuinely close matter less because they are genuinely close, and it is a lower impact on whether you win or lose the game, which one you go with. This is certainly one of those cases, and so there is not a clear better line here. This is definitely a case of time-traveling supercomputer could figure it out, human playing a game cannot. And
yeah, but
the conclusion in this spot, I believe the correct conclusion is go with your gut. We don't know.
So play.
So yeah, but we can. I want to add an addendum to this, which is that like this spot, like we don't have a clear answer for this spot. Like we're not going to have a clear answer for this spot. But I hope that this discussion of this spot helps with similar situations in similar spots that like look very, very similar, but have like one small thing that is different that makes the math a lot different. Yes. For example, let's say that one of the lands in our hand is a gain land, so that we can go up to 6 life. That is a lot different than 5 life. Because then we don't die to Repulsor Blast, we don't die to I Am Iron Man. Take Up the Shield, and Hero in Training, and Lightning Strike still are bad for us. But we've like eliminated two of the like pretty common ways that we could die. We also eliminated Energy Daggers, and so like. It becomes like actually a lot more reasonable to take the like Tuck Leader line. We just like gains like another like 5%, right?
Let's say the opponent has a Take Up the Shield, and two I Am Iron Mans, and a Lightning Strike in their graveyard. They've already cast them this game.
Yeah, and we expect that most of their draws are creatures,
right?
Like,
yeah.
Oh yeah, this is something we forgot to
in the math pretty completely.
Yeah, this is something I forgot to bring up. One thing that you can do is in this kind of situation to figure out like, oh, how likely is it that my opponent has a very specific set of things that are mostly like non-creature spells, right? Like how likely is it that the top card of my opponent's deck is a removal spell? You can just look at their graveyard, look at like what the spells they've cast this game are, and see like how many removal spells you see, how many removal spells you expect a normal sealed deck to play.
Most limited decks do not play 8 removal spells. Most limited decks play between 3 and 5 or 6.
Yeah. So if you see them have like 5 removal spells in their graveyard already, that should like lower your priors on whether they have removal spells left. If you see they have cast 0 removal spells, like that makes it a lot more likely that they still have 3 chilling in their library. You know, like obviously, and not all removal spells are the same, but like it gives you some amount of sense. You know,
if our opponent has 7 lands in play instead of 11 lands in play, that also meaningfully changes the math if they also still have 15 cards left in their deck.
Yeah, because then that makes tucking the flyer better, like a little better than otherwise, because we can assume that more of the cases their leader will just like draw 2 lands and they'll discard one, right?
But that's not even that entirely true, because if they have more lands in their deck, their chance of having 1 card get them out of it is much lower as well.
Potentially. It depends on our estimation, because like if,
It
the
all
blank,
depends on the
if the
math.
blank spells don't matter, then they're equal to lands, and the only thing
Yeah.
that matters is how
Yeah.
many live
Yeah,
cards
like
Yeah, yeah.
anyway, yeah.
Yeah.
We could talk about this.
Also,
even more.
obviously, like if the opponent is at 8 life instead of 9 life,
It's
this
trivial.
play is trivially easy. You must spot the lethal and kill them.
Yeah. No, at the end of my opponent's turn, I was like, oh wow, they're dead. And then I was like, oh wait, no, that's one more creature. Shoot.
Yeah. So many tiny little factors can come up that change these spots completely. That's why we think this is a really beautiful spot, is that all of these very, very, very small details ended up resulting in 2 options that were, through very vibey, very difficult to process math, pretty equal.
Yep.
So,
Unless you disagree with us, in which case leave a comment.
yes, definitely let us know if there's anything we missed. Although I will give the big caveat that we have reconstructed this to the best of our ability. There are probably details that we are missing about the actual game.
Oh,
and
there
so
definitely.
Even if the thing we're representing to you here is solvable in a way that we missed a detail on or whatever, it's probably not the actual game that happened. And in the actual game that happened, at least to both Maura and I's calculations, having been following and playing in the game in the moment, this was the situation.
Yeah.
Like, it was actually this close as far as we could tell.
I'm almost certain that if I had perfect information about, if I remembered every single card and every single zone that I knew about, that we could come to a conclusion on this that was not 50-50. I do not have that kind of memory, unfortunately.
Yeah. So, do you wanna wrap it up? Do you wanna tell us what happened?
Do the people need to know? Yeah, the people need to know.
Never look. End the podcast right now.
Yeah, no, if you have a robust mental game, don't listen on. So, I took the leader line because I wanted to give them
So
the
we
one out.
activated Avengers Tower. We
Yeah.
whiffed.
I activated Avengers
we
Tower
did actually do
with-
that in the game.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
activated Tower.
we
with-
put the Go Nuts, land, Iron Man
Yep.
at the bottom.
Yep, and then I targeted a leader, connived, drew a spell, discarded a land.
It was a we say thee nay.
Yeah,
Right.
It was a we say the name.
I'm surprised you discarded the land instead of the spell.
I don't think I was supposed to discard I was supposed to discard the spell. That was a mistake.
Yeah.
And then I attack my 4/4 creature and my 4/4 flyer. My opponent trades off 2 creatures, my 4/4 creature, and goes to 5. My opponent taps, draws a card, pays 1 mana, casts Vibranium Energy Daggers, pays 3 mana, equips it to the flyer, and kills me.
Brutal.
Not even the one we thought it might be.
And that was game 1.
That was game 1. We finished that with 25 minutes, and then game 2 also took
Game 2 was
25
also
minutes.
incredibly difficult
Yeah.
and complicated and
I died-
super close. And,
Yeah, and I
to
died-
be clear, if Maura had drawn the match, if she had won game 2, it was pretty likely that you would have made top 32.
No, I think I would have bubbled out.
Really? Okay.
A bunch of
in the
X1
moment.
bubbled
In the
out.
moment, you believed
Yeah.
that it was.
Yeah,
very
it was correct
possible.
for me to play for the draw. Because there was a chance. I think there's like a...
Not to play for the draw by stalling, playing for the draw by winning game 2.
Yes.
To be clear.
Yes. No,
because
that...
you did not have time to
It
finish
was
game
insane.
3.
Oh,
What an insane
That
match.
match took years off my life.
Yeah.
But it was great. Shout out Kevin again. Absolutely wonderful guy.
Yeah. Do we know how he did in the draft? I don't.
I
think
don't.
So.
I know he did.
hope
I know.
won.
Unfortunately, I know he did not win.
Okay.
But
Dang.
But yeah.
We do know that our good
Friend of the podcast, Paul Green.
Paul Green
Yeah.
did win,
Paul Green got the dub.
which is
Oh.
awesome. So
And
happy
as
for
always,
Paul.
if you want to, like Paul Green, win at Limited, you should read Ryan's Patreon articles.
Yes. Which Paul Green has cited as the source of success.
Got him.
that truly, we have to end with that, I guess.
Yeah.
So yeah, until next time, you can find me at r-condon.bsky.social. You guys.
I am somewhere on Blue Sky, I think World Record 2, like I am everywhere. Yeah.
I am JasonILTG basically everywhere.
Woohoo.
Bye.
Bye, everyone. Until next
Thanks
time.
for
go out,
watching.
make some good
Or
plays.
listening.
Yeah.
Watching, listening, breaking down with us as we try to figure out this impossible spot.
As I break down with this spot.
See you next time. Bye.
Okay.